It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso on S3, and we continue our conversation around World Oceans Day as we celebrate this day, which is absolutely necessary. And we're also very excited to have Talitha Noble, who is the conservation manager from the Two Oceans Aquarium Education Foundation, that joins us to chat about their initiative as well as the importance of rescuing and rehabilitating as many sea turtles as possible. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
This is very fascinating because we are talking about the rehabilitation of turtles. You mentioned in the ad break that you haven't seen one in its natural habitat. So we are quite fascinated with why there is a rehabilitation center in the first place. What is the need for it? And what role does the Two Oceans Aquarium play in helping these turtles?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you think of our sort of beaches, you don't think of tropical turtles coming out. But we actually have like incredible nesting populations of loggerhead and leatherback turtles on our northeastern coastline, northern KwaZulu-Natal. And every year these females go and lay their eggs there, and then come January, February, these little eggs hatch, the little turtles make their way to the ocean, and then they drift in this warm Agulhas current that comes all the way down our coast. And these little turtles drift in the current, and as the current reaches our south coast, they get spat out, and at that point they've often sustained lots of injuries. They are like little sweet treats for everything in the ocean. Everything tries to eat them. But they also have gone into hypothermic, like cold shock, from that distinct change in temperature, and they're dehydrated, and that leads them to wash up on the beaches of the Western Cape. And so we find that we have a stranding season for hatchling turtles. That's between about March and the end of July every year, where we can get anything from 20 to 220 hatchling turtles that strand on our coastline.
Sure.
That's insane. That's a huge amount. And like I was saying earlier in the break, it's so interesting to me because, I mean, I've been exploring and playing in the ocean since a kid. I've never come across a turtle in the wild at all. You're mentioning that they come from KZN. My fascination is when they're washing up and stuff, how come it's not a more maybe common experience? And when they are washing up and are essentially in this state, what are you doing with them exactly afterwards? I know you are rehabilitating them, but how do you rehabilitate a turtle?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, firstly, the little turtles, when they strand, are often tiny. It can be really difficult to see them. They can be in the kelp, in the rocks. So they're not always this large turtle on the sandy
When you mean
beach.
tiny, like what sort of reference are we talking
They can
about?
fit into the size of your, like a little palm of your hand. So
maybe
literally
that's
they're
why I
20
also haven't
grams. Yeah. We do also get larger turtles that strand, but mainly the stranding season is for hatchling turtles. And so I think it requires like an awareness and looking out for it, which is why we do have these sort of campaigns to become a turtle rescuer, to keep an eye out on the beaches, to sort of help us rescue these turtles. And yes, looking after them is tricky. It's incredibly rewarding, but it's difficult because they come in and they firstly can't tell you what they've been through.
No.
They have the shell that protects everything inside, but it also makes it difficult to know what's going on inside. And so we generally do very basic things. So there's lots of rehydration, food, warming up, medical treatments. We work with a lot of vets collaboratively, and yeah, there's a lot of sort of work and effort that goes into them. And then you observe them and their behavior and how they improve and start gaining weight, and you keep track of them. And that's generally how we go in the process of rehabilitation.
Quick question, I've got to interrupt you. I just want to know, hypothetically, is it not possible, because animals are smart, now, you can laugh at me with a silly question, but is it not possible for these turtles to start realizing that, hey, it's quite lekker down at the Oceans Aquarium, they look after us, they rehabilitate, it's lekker over there, maybe we should just all flock down to the Western Cape. Is that something that could occur maybe?
I think that is something that they think about, is they start getting fussy and then they don't want this food and then they realize it's a hotel and yes, no.
I wanted to know what happens once you've rehabilitated them. How long do they stay at the rehab center, and when do you release them back into the wild?
Yeah. So in Cape Town, we're limited to releasing them when the ocean is right around us, which means that we can release them sort of in a window that's between about November and March. We generally release at the end of the year after about 6 to 9 months of rehabilitation. And at that point, the turtles are usually a lot more robust. They're about sort of 500 grams. They're a little bit feistier. They're biting, and the vet has to clear them, so they have to be sort of healthy and in top form. But then when the southeaster brings the warm current slightly closer to shore, we're able to go down into that current and release them there.
Do you know where they go from there?
Who knows? The first 10 years of a turtle are called the lost years because we literally don't actually know. And this is why we need to learn more. We need research, we need to understand so that we can better conserve them.
What a life these little buggers have. They just like sit out into the big blue, go have a party, go just get lost, and then we'll find you again later.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
I'm just thinking of the movie Finding Nemo, where the little turtles end up in Australia and they're just like happy in the current, which is absolutely amazing. Well, Talitha's not going anywhere, so stay tuned to your Feel Good Breakfast show as we unpack and explore more about the rehabilitation of turtles and, of course, the importance of it and the role you can play as we celebrate World Oceans Day today.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back, you beautiful souls. We're still chilling here and chatting to a special soul. It's Talitha Noble, and she's a conservation manager from the Two Oceans Aquarium. And we're chatting about turtles, saving the turtles, everything involving the ocean, and we're learning more about this beautiful species. And earlier we were chatting to you about a bit more about what you guys are about, what you're doing at the organization. And one question we didn't get to touch on is the actual turtles themselves. What species, what type of turtles are you seeing? You did mention babies, but are you only dealing with the young ones, or do you get some OGs pulling up there as well, looking for a good time?
Yes, so hatchling-wise, we get loggerhead and leatherback hatchlings because those are the two.
Loggerhead.
Loggerhead.
Okay, is the
They
loghead?
literally have a square little
Okay,
head.
okay.
Yeah, they're little dinosaurs. And leatherbacks, which literally have a leathery skin. Those are the two species that nest on our coastline. But the green turtle, the hawksbill, occasionally even the olive ridley, use our coastline to forage, to travel, and then they can also get into trouble and strand on our coastline. So we've seen 5 of the 7 species of sea turtle we've seen in our facility.
Okay, and are they mostly young kids? What do you call a young turtle, by the way?
Sub-adult.
A sub-adult
Yes,
turtle.
a sub-adult.
Okay. And are they mostly sub-adults, or do you get some of the older ones coming through as well?
Both. We do get quite a lot of sub-adults, turtles that we estimate to be between 3 and 8 years in age. But we have occasionally received turtles that are 100 kilograms that must be in their 20s or 30s. So a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. Wow.
You know, I'm so fascinated because you mentioned loggerheads, and we've had in our news, I remember reporting on the story a couple of times, Yoshi, who was obviously at the Two Oceans Aquarium for a period of 21 years. What was that journey like? Because you mentioned you used to volunteer even from high school at the aquarium, and then when you started working there, that was also the time period that she was released into the wild. Yeah. What was that experience like?
It was pretty spectacular because Yashi very much became this sort of personality and presence in Cape Town, where she was like this queen of the aquarium and you could go and visit her, and she'd been there for so long. And because she'd been there for so long, initially it wasn't certain whether one would be able to release her, because would she be able to fend for herself and do what she needs to do? And that's what took us on the journey of really researching and looking into that and getting her ready for release, getting her fit and healthy. She needed to lose some weight. And then eventually satellite tagging and releasing her at the end of 2017. And what followed after that was an incredible 3 years of just breaking all the records and the boundaries and the barriers, and watching her mission up to Angola, mission all the way down again. A year after release, she was exactly where we'd released her, off Cape Point. And then she decided...
trail of one of the routes that they took, which was just up on the screen now.
Yeah,
that is immense. That's like half a way across the globe, all the way to, looks like Australia.
Yeah. Over 40,000 kilometers and 3 years. It's the longest marine migration that's been satellite tracked. Wow. And it's been incredible. It's such a sort of an astounding thing to learn that these turtles are actually just these wild, crazy, cool animals that can do anything.
They really are.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're like my spirit animal in the ocean. Like, they feel like they're just floating and flying in the deep blue with all this like inherent knowledge within them.
Probably true.
Which, yeah. So I mean, talking more about these species and talking more about populations and maybe more about the narrative of being endangered, how are the numbers looking when it comes to turtles globally, within South Africa as well? And is there a way we could potentially assist in changing that narrative so that we don't get into a situation where these mystical, beautiful creatures are just another story we're telling to our kids?
Yeah. That's an important question, because the thing with turtles is that there's so much about them we still don't know. And so the idea that we might not have them in the wild, we don't actually know, we can't comprehend what impact that would have, because we still don't understand the full value that they bring to the ocean ecosystem. Yeah, I mean, in South Africa, our populations are actually looked after quite nicely on the coastline where they nest. But globally, turtles are critically endangered. They have had sort of human impact after human impact thrown at them, from ghost gear to plastic ingestion to being fished and sort of poached from all sides. And unfortunately, this has left turtles, who are these incredibly strong, capable, resilient animals, on the back foot and just really needing our help. Even with the small little turtles that we get, one of the biggest issues is that they've ingested microplastic.
Oh.
Sure.
And they've been alive for 2 or 3 months, and we had a turtle last week who died, and he had 121 pieces of plastic inside of him.
Oh no.
And that is
121 pieces of plastic.
It's
that is just ridiculous.
absolutely horrific. And these animals are indicators of ocean health. They are telling us what the state of the sea is, and we need to listen, because they're telling us that the oceans, the beautiful oceans that we celebrate and love and want to spend time in, need us to look after it.
We do need to look after it. And I know, Talitha, at the Two Oceans Aquarium, you guys do incredible work. It's not just the aquarium for us to go and visit and look at the animals. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. How can our viewers support you guys and make sure that you continue to do the good work in the oceans?
Yes, you can visit us at the Aquarium Foundation, a website. So the Aquarium Foundation is the not-for-profit that the Two Oceans Aquarium has. And we do incredible work with conservation, but also with education. There is insane stuff. So if you check out our website, there's online courses, there's incredible things you can do. And we're also really developing the research side as well. So there's lots of exciting things to get involved with.
Oh, well, that's the aquariumfoundation.org.za. And again, Talitha Noble, Conservation Manager at Two Oceans Aquarium, thank you so much for joining us this morning, sharing some valuable knowledge on the ocean, of course. And I think it's just an important message that we can all take with us. And for you, Mzansi, something a little bit more familiar, but also keeping it ocean friendly. We've got a taco that might just serve that belly all the wonders you need. Check it out.